Comm with council members Benton, Evans, Gadd, Nash, Porterfield, Swara, Weiner, and Huffman. We didn't have anyone sign up for public comment today, so we're going to go ahead and look at the consent. Members, notice one thing today, please. I listed the consent items on here ahead of time. That's something that I'm going to try to do moving forward, just so you can have it at least a few hours before, so you can know what the proposed consent agenda is. Before I get going, is there anything that anyone sees that you would like to be removed? And I'll give you the chance again here in a moment, but just to give you a moment. All right, I'm gonna start reading the proposed consent agenda. We're gonna start with item number 3, RS 2025-1666, sponsors Toombs, Huffman, Gadd, and Welsh. A resolution appropriating a total of $765,882 from the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and approving a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and Vanderbilt University Medical Center for the provision of medical case management, mental health services, outpatient ambulatory care, and referral services for participants in the Ryan White Part A program. Item number 4, RS 2025-1667, sponsors Toombs, Huffman, Gadd, Hill, and Welsh. A resolution appropriating a total of $1,621,095 from the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health to Nashville Cares, and approving a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Board of Health and Nashville Cares for the provision of early intervention services, emergency financial assistance, food assistance, housing services, linguistic services, medical case management, mental health services, non-medical case management, outpatient ambulatory care, psychosocial services, and transportation for participants in the Ryan White Part A program. Item number 5, RS 2025-1668, resolution appropriating a total of $48,000 from a certain account of the Community Safety Fund to pass the beauty, and approving a grant contract by and between the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Metropolitan Board of Health and pass the beauty for a provision of community safety program that mitigates financial stress, strengthens anti-violence social norms and peer relationships, and provides peer support and therapy. Sponsors on that are Toombs, Huffman, Gadd, Gamble, and Welsh. Item number 6, RS 2025-1671, a resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement with Blink Marketing, Inc. for promotional and commemorative items for the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, sponsors Toombs and Huffman. Item number 7, RS 2025-1672, sponsors Toombs and Huffman, a resolution accepting the terms of a cooperative purchasing master agreement with 4 Imprint, Inc. for promotional and commemorative items for the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Item number 9, RS 2025-1674, sponsors Toombs, Huffman, Johnston, Gadd, and Welsh. Resolution approving an application for DNA capacity enhancement for backlog reduction CEBR program grant from the U.S. Department of Justice to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department to outsource sexual assault kits to private vendors for forensic case sample analysis to reduce the backlog associated with DNA analysis. And lastly, on the consent agenda, item number 10, BL 2025-1137, sponsors Toombs, Huffman, Allen, Ellis, Ewing, and Welsh. An ordinance approving an agreement between ATS Operating LLC, ATS, and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County by and through the Office of Family Safety, OFS, to collect clothing and other household item donations on a regular basis from OFS on behalf of one or more charitable organizations. Does anyone have anything that they need removed from that proposed consent agenda? Do I have a motion to approve? Second, anybody? All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? Okay, consent agenda passes 8 in favor, none against, 0 not voting. First item on our agenda that is not on the consent agenda, item number 1, RS 2025-1655, a resolution calling for the Mayor's Office and Department of Emergency Communications to enact various reforms relative to department leadership and workplace culture. Sponsor is not here. I know we've got a proposed substitute. I don't know if anyone would like to move that. Oh, yep, Councilmember Evans, would you like to be recognized?
Yeah, we can move it. I'm not signed on to it, but we can move it to the purpose, for the purpose of discussion.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that? And any discussion on the substitute? Yes, Councilmember Nash, you're recognized.
Do we know what the substitute does? What changes are in the substitute?
One moment, Councilmember Nash, Director Darby reminded me we need to get it before as substituted first, and I apologize for that. So do I have a motion to move it as substituted? Move the substitute. I am sorry, yes. That is correct. So the motion to move the substitute. Do I have a motion? And do I have a second? Okay, and back to you, Councilmember Nash.
Do we have a good explanation of the substitute and how it differs from the original bill?
Councilmember Evans, I don't know if you want to answer that question, but I'll direct it at you.
I mean, here's the thing. I haven't read the substitute, so I'm not really comfortable speaking to the substitute, especially in light of the sponsor not being here. I understand it to be less maybe prescriptive or related to some of the things that were in the original. So that's my commentary on the substitute.
I'd like to make a motion to defer.
Any discussion on the deferral? All those in favor for the one meeting deferral, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Any not voting? Item is yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's the question was whether the deferral was for the bill or the substitute. We don't defer substitutes in just the substitute in committee, so that would be a deferral for the bill.
Thank you for the point of order. Moving on to item number 2, RS 2025-1659, sponsors Toombs, Huffman, and Johnston, a resolution approving a letter of agreement and memorandum of understanding between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County and the Nashville Downtown Partnership related to an application for the FY26 Downtown Public Safety Grant from the state of Tennessee. Do I have a motion? Any discussion on this item? I'm going to recognize Councilmember Weiner and Councilmember Parker. I'll come back to you.
Move a one meeting deferral, please.
Any discussion on the deferral? Councilmember Parker, you are recognized.
Thanks for recognizing me, Chair. I would just argue against immediately deferring this legislation at the committee discussion phase for the purpose of discussion. I think there's a lot of questions about this. And if y'all move to defer it, then this committee is not going to have an opportunity to discuss it today.
Councilmember Weiner.
Can I amend my motion to say re-referral back to the committee?
Yeah, so the deferral is automatically going to come back to the committee, just to answer the question. Councilmember Evans, and then I'll come back to you. Oh, point of order. Yes, ma'am.
Director Darby, I know it's been deferred, but as a committee members, does the deferral preclude asking questions before the vote?
So Per Robert's rules, your discussion on deferral is supposed to be limited to the deferral itself. In committees, oftentimes, things can be a little lax, and that would be up to the chair.
Councilmember Evans, you are recognized.
Thank you. I think then, I mean, in general, I'm in support of a deferral, but in this instance, I think I'm opposed because I'd really like to have some of the preliminary discussion since there's been so much public commentary about this particular piece of legislation in light of like this fact sheet being here. And so maybe we could have some early discussion before a deferral occurs.
Councilmember Gadd, I'm going to go to you, and then I'll come back over to you to Councilmember Parker.
Thank you so much, Chair. Just as part of the discussion on the deferral motion, I will ultimately support a deferral. I would like the opportunity, but I won't support it at this moment in time because I want to have a little bit more discussion. So those of us have questions, we can get those perhaps answered if we can't get those in committee.
Yep. Councilmember Weiner.
Why don't I withdraw the deferral motion until later?
Noted. So we're back on discussion. Councilmember Parker, I'm going to come to you, and then I'll go to you, Councilmember Porterfield. That'll work. So Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thanks again for recognizing me, Chair. So I have a number of questions, but I imagine there's a lot of questions from other members too. So I'm just going to be brief in hopes that if this goes on a while, you'll maybe recognize me again later. So I have a question for the administration, if that's all right. Were we aware of this grant opportunity? And if so, why did we not apply for the funds ourselves?
You're recognized. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dave Rosenberg, the Mayor's Office. There were conversations between both parties as required under the grant. It was a very short time window. We're one of a few cities that requires council approval of the application process. And rather than trying to circumvent that, with the net effect being the same at the end of council needing to approve any purchases or acceptance of money, that was the way to go.
Okay, thank you. And I guess my other question for the moment is, you know, the statement that the legislation has the effect of limiting it, whereas if we didn't pass this legislation, it would not be limited in any way. But it's also been stated that they're going to get this money and spend it anyway. I'm not clear on. I guess. Yeah, if you could maybe come back to me during the discussion, I'll clarify that question.
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the grant application that the Nashville Downtown Partnership submitted and their contract does limit the uses to a list of to subject areas, basically. And yes, the money is going either way. It's whether it's that limitations or the MOU lists instead specific items instead of broader areas. So it limits, in effect, the uses.
Okay, I think I understand that. Thank you.
Councilmember Porterfield, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I have several questions. Kind of piggybacking off of Councilmember Parker's first question. These are directed to the administration, if I may.
Yes.
Piggybacking off of Councilmember Parker's first question. So if I'm understanding that correctly, if we do not approve the MOU, Downtown Partnership gets the money and they can use it for any of several buckets. If we approve the MOU, then we can limit it to the specific things listed in the MOU. Is that correct?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, council member, that's correct. We don't anticipate NDP using it for things besides what's been discussed between the two parties, but what you said is correct.
Okay, thank you. You may want to keep standing because it's a lot. Okay, my first question is the armored rescue vehicle. Can you speak to what that would be for? I'm looking at the fact sheet that was left on our desk.
Can I defer to Chief Gilder, please?
Hey, Chief.
Hi, how are you?
Chief Gilder, you're recognized.
Thank you.
Could you just introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, Chris Gilder, Metro Nashville Police Department. So the armored rescue vehicle is similar to the one that we already have. And basically, it is an armored vehicle that allows us to go in situations where there may be taking fire or we anticipate taking fire from individuals. We keep one staged for special events downtown. It's out of sight. Most people don't even know it's there, but in the event that we have to use it. And we've had issues with them breaking down. They're not a part of the regular recurring funding source to replace or upgrade them. So this would give us the opportunity to put one in service so that if we have one dedicated downtown and we have another event happen somewhere else in the county that we need it, like a barricaded type situation, that we would have it available, because that has happened before where we've had to peel off from the special event to attend to another situation, a dangerous situation in another part of the county.
Thank you. How often are we using this rescue vehicle, just on average?
It's utilized by, I don't have an exact count for you, but it very regularly.
Okay, thank you. Regularly is subjective. So just to clarify, like weekly or monthly or daily?
I don't think it would be out of turn to say we probably use it on a weekly basis between special events that are occurring, search warrants, high-risk search warrants that are required, that's what's required to help execute, barricaded type situations, things like that. So it does get used pretty regularly.
Okay, thank you. And for the downtown tech center, $2.5 million to add staff to Metro's downtown traffic management center for improved traffic flow, especially during large events. I don't know if this is to administration or MNPD, but are those, is that tech center only looking at traffic management, or are there any type of like cameras or surveillance or any other technical capacities outside of traffic management in that tech center?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council member, it's a traffic management center. It includes cameras on the roads as it stands now, and then probably like conference room tech equipment, but nothing beyond that I'm aware of. And this money is to allow increased staffing.
Staffing for the tech center that's already there. So it's not increasing any technical capabilities of the current tech center.
Right. The only technology that's a part of this is what's listed at the beginning, which is the 15 video cameras in locations there already are cameras, and then the potential noise camera technology, which would be subject to council approval.
Okay, thank you. Can you tell me what safety ambassadors are? It's $270,000 for additional safety ambassadors.
I cannot, but somebody just stood up back there that I think can.
If you'll please introduce yourself for us.
Good afternoon, Council. Ben Simpson, Chief Operating Officer, Nashville Downtown Partnership. Councilmember Porterfield, good to see you. The safety ambassadors, or the ladies and gentlemen that you see in the yellow shirts or red coats when it's this weather outside, they're on the segways. So they are mostly used for hospitality assist, so navigation, wayfinding. If there is some sort of report that comes in, you're usually close and first to the scene, and they would either reach out to our outreach teams or MNPD, depending upon the severity of that report. They pretty much are a hospitality wayfinding assist, again, on the segways downtown.
Thank you. Are they armed, or do they have any type of like enforcement capabilities, or are they ever used at any type of enforcement capabilities?
They are not POTUS certified officers. They do have body cameras for their safety and the safety of the people they're interacting with. And were there to be any incident, MNPD would have full access to those body cameras.
Thank you. Just a couple more questions, Chair.
Sure.
I'll try to be real brief. The $3.2 million to expand outreach support for unhoused individuals, who gets that $3.2 million?
Back to you, sir.
That would be the Nashville Downtown Partnership. When we came up here with Antonio and Isaiah, you met some of our outreach individuals. I know some of the council members have taken a ride around with them. We offer that to any council member that wants to see what they do on a daily basis. The majority of that money would be about connecting services to the unhoused people that they deal with on a daily basis. And that's everything from addiction services to temporary housing services, to buying them clothes, to helping them navigate how to get an ID. They do all of that on a daily basis. I'm happy to bring Antonio or Isaiah back when this is re-referred to council, and they can go into that. But you have heard from both Antonio, who manages that program, and Isaiah, who is a supervisor in that program before.
Do you all partner with any other nonprofits that do outreach for unhoused individuals like Open Table or any other community partners?
We partner with a myriad of community partners. I know that we're with the Nashville Rescue Mission and Room in the Inn on a daily basis. We also have about 16 other service providers that our outreach team uses. And of course, those services don't come for free, so that $3.2 million would help them navigate those services. Again, I'm happy to get a full list of what Antonio and Isaiah do on a daily basis. I know last month they helped house 30 people.
Thank you. I would love a list of who y'all partner with. I think for transparency, that'd be great. And if you could just give me two more questions, Chair. Two more, yeah. $900,000 to combat the noise camera technology. Can we get some understanding of what that is and what it will do?
So I'm happy to take part of that. It would ultimately be a responsibility of MNPD and not NDP. There's a program going on both in Memphis and Knoxville where there is a still camera that is attached to a pole that has triangulating microphones. Those microphones pick up decibel levels, so when a car revs its engine or is speeding through a Fourth Avenue, where there's a lot of sidewalks and crosswalks at a high rate of speed, causing a high rate of noise, those microphones are triggered, and then a still picture is taken and sent to MNPD. It works. Again, this is technology deployed both in Knoxville and Memphis, and we would hope to copy that simply for Vision Zero, pedestrian safety, and then a lot of our members, both business residents and workers, complain that there's a lot of noise ordinance violation going on downtown. I don't know if you've ever been down there when someone revs a motorcycle or revs an engine, or maybe likes to sing a little too loudly on an open-air bus. But those are the kind of ordinance violations now that are hard to prove that I think this technology would help with, but I can defer that to the chief.
To clarify, so if someone is singing too loud on an open-air bus, is that going to trigger the noise technology?
It would be, the microphones, to my understanding, Chief, would be set at the level of whatever the ordinance decibel is. So you would have to meet the level of the ordinance before that to go.
Okay, and can you or Chief clarify what the still picture is being taken of? Is it of the person's license plate, or what is the picture being taken of?
Again, it's not been utilized here. My understanding is they take a picture of the vehicle so that the vehicle can be identified by the officer that needs to issue the citation, to locate the vehicle and issue a citation to the vehicle.
I think we would definitely want some clarity on if that's a picture of the vehicle or a picture of the license plate, because what if two people are driving the same vehicle downtown?
Well, it probably captures the license plate, but keep in mind that's not the same thing as a license plate reader, which reads the optical characters, runs it against a database, does the automated stuff, collects data. That's a different system. This captures a still image of the vehicle, and yes, if there's a plate attached to it, then I'm quite certain it probably would capture an image of the plate so that we could identify the car and issue a citation if they are in violation of the ordinance.
Thank you. And my last question, because that was all one question. My last question was on the other side where it said that this legislation does not implement fuses is basically what it says. It says council has not approved the use of fuses, and this MOU does not approve such a use or a contract for such a use. Does this MOU approve any other software programs that may not be named fuses, but that may have similar capabilities?
Back to you, Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, it does not. It does not approve the purchase or use of anything. It narrows what could be, what the grant can be used for in the future, and any use of any kind of software, purchase of a contract, purchase technology, new use that falls under 13.8.080, any of that comes back to council as separate legislation.
What do the video cameras do? Because it's $150,000 to supplement 15 existing video-only cameras. So what are those video cameras capturing?
Turn 180.
Back to you, Deputy Chief.
Thanks.
This is my last set of questions, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So the cameras that you see downtown on Broadway that have the flashing blue lights above them, the public safety cameras down there, these are to supplement those. So it's not in any new locations. They are going in the same location, just either replacing old aged out cameras or capturing a blank spot in the coverage that's in those locations. So it's no new locations.
Are those cameras like live feed? Like who's watching the cameras? Who has access to them?
They're live feed. There are cameras. They're owned by the city, and it's our community safety center folks that monitor those. The ones you've seen on the monitor.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then the last question in this set of questions, and then I'm done, I promise. Does anyone else have access? Like, what if like federal enforcement agents or like state enforcement agents are saying, like Highway Patrol or ICE or anybody is saying like, hey, we want access to these cameras? Like, I would assume y'all don't have the ability to deny access, but I don't want to assume.
No, there are cameras. We're not required to share them unless there's a court order, like a search warrant or something like that. If there's they have evidence that is the cameras captured evidence of a crime. If that's the case, then we're probably already pursuing that anyways as it is. But no, we don't share that footage. That footage is on a closed system that is only available to our police employees.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. Councilmember Porterfield, Councilmember Suarez, you're recognized.
Since she got like 10, I have to have 20. All right, thanks. I think for me, I'm going to start from the understanding the process, then I will get into some questions. And this is for the administration. I sent this earlier, but I didn't get the response. So this application, this grant was applied for by NDP. But the way that I read it, it's not NDP that is just applying. It is a joint application with Metro. Is that correct?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have zero legal background. However, my understanding is no, it is not. You have to have both parties cooperating, but it's actually a grant, an NDP application for a grant, and the funds go to NDP.
So the way that I read the grant document that the state put out is that this money can go through any cities that has a industrial development center, and that either one of them can apply, right? If NDP is applying, Metro cannot apply, but they agree to one of them applying on behalf of the other. So is that not what's happened here?
Metro was not going to apply for it, so NDP was able to.
Okay. So the MOU that is before us, when I read the MOU talks about what can happen in the application process, because that MOU talks about NDP will apply, Metro will not apply. So it seems to me as if that is a joint thing, and that was signed by Metro. Is that not? Because I did see that in the application.
It hasn't been executed because it hasn't been approved by council.
So the discussion about NDP applying and all of that, even though the application already closed, and again, I want to make sure we understand in this process. So the application already closed in October 24th. This money is already received. So why do we have an MOU, approved, granted, awarded? So why do we have an MOU talking about you apply for it, we won't apply for it, and why are we approving that now?
The timing that was intended changed. So there wasn't going to be an opportunity for council to approve it. So some of the language is moot at this point. And at this point, it's really about, in my view, Appendix A or Exhibit A, or however that list is labeled in the MOU.
So when NDP applied, was it with the intent that they would spend all the entire 15 million, or was there an understanding that a part of it will go to Metro?
There's an understanding that part of it will go to Metro.
So technically they're applying on behalf of Metro? Yes.
It's a partnership. I mean,
so it is a joint application. So there's a reason why I'm going through that line of questioning. And the reason why I wanted to ask that specifically is if it's a joint application and we agree that we're going to do this together, X amount of money will belong to NDP, or they will use it for X amount of things, and Metro will use X amount for other things. Is that a correct assumption?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Okay, so what I'm saying is,
sorry,
so in the application process that we agreed to do with, or they did on our behalf, the 15 million, in that application, how much of that was NDP planning to use, and how much of that were they giving to Metro?
So based on these down here, the uses that are in there, it looks like 3.9, about 6.5 or so, 5.7, sorry, about 6 million would be NDP, and then subject to future council approval, 9 million would be Metro.
And so, so the question that I wanted to ask then is, can NDP, especially when it comes to surveillance, there is a part in the fiscal analysis, and I wanted to read it, but my computer keeps shutting down, that says part of this grant can be used for surveillance. Please note that the public hearing requirements in that section would not apply to this resolution, because while some of the permitted technology expenditures will be for surveillance technology, Metro is not recipient of the grants, nor is Metro requiring any of the designated surveillance technology. So since NDP is the recipient of the grant, can NDP buy surveillance technology with this money?
The MOU does not include any surveillance technology that they would be able to utilize, but generally speaking, private parties can purchase and implement surveillance technology.
Okay. And maybe this is part that will come to budget, but maybe I'll just ask it now. If this is not approved by council, for whatever reason, would NDP have access to the 9-point-something million that was supposed to be for Metro for them to use, or will that just stay there?
That doesn't affect disbursement of funds. Of course, anything coming to Metro has to be approved by council in the future. So that's the only, I think, obstacle is not the right word, but the hurdle to clear as far as accepting money for Metro. Not approving the MOU just means that the money can be used for a wider list of uses than if the MOU is approved.
Okay. So I'm going to want Director Debbie and the legal department to please look into this before the next time, because I think it's going to be very critical if this is a joint application where we would have rights. It's not, but do we have the same right to the money? Can they use it if we don't take it? Director Debbie, please.
It's my understanding after reading the state law and the application guidelines and the application, the way that this money is acquired by one of the cities is either the city applies for it or the downtown partnership, in this case is downtown partnership, would apply for it. And they have to agree. This is where the agreement comes in, the letter of agreement. Okay. They have to agree that if one entity is applying for it, the other one will not. Okay, so that's what that letter of agreement does. It says that the downtown partnership is going to apply for the funding and Metro is not going to apply for it. If the purpose of the funding is at some point in the future this is what the mayor's office has indicated, to donate either the things that are purchased or to donate funds directly to the metropolitan government, those items have to come back to council for approval. If any of those items, if they purchase items that would be considered surveillance technology pursuant to Metro Code, then when the Metropolitan Council approves those, we would have to go through that whole process under the Metro Code for public hearing and whatnot. Regardless, whatever gets donated to the metropolitan government, and that includes MNPD, would have to come to council for approval to accept those things or those funds.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question, the last clarification, I think I'll be done, is that are they obligated to make those donations or they're not?
I don't think that they're obligated to make those donations. I think the way the state law is set up, one party or the other can get the grant dispersed to them. I think that it's an agreement between, I think, the mayor's office and the NDP that at some point they will be making those donations to Metro. And it sounds like there's maybe some other documentation that I haven't seen listing out the cost of each one of these items. But they would have to come back to council to make those donations.
Okay, thank you. And if you would just check for me before all of that to see that, because when the state put this out, I think they meant for it to be either or, but working together. That's my understanding of it. And if working, what does that working together mean in terms of the money, whether it can stay all in one place if this one doesn't want it, or all of that, I still think I'm not that clear. I think I have some clarification, but I still need a little bit more, and I can talk to you offline about that. But Yes, and also if, yeah. I lost my train of thoughts on that one, but yes, I'm very interested in that surveillance piece. If the other party can or cannot, and then if they can, if they have to donate or not donate, and what happens if they don't donate to the rest of the money? And they use it, or do they get to send it back? I think those are a question that I'll be interested in. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Suara. Councilmember Cap, hang on just a moment. I'm just going to go to a committee member first. Councilmember Evans, I'm going to recognize you.
Thank you, Chair. I think even though we've got a lot of questions, one thing that probably would be universally applauded is downtown getting more public bathrooms. And so I was curious from the partnership or whoever wants to speak to it, kind of related to, would it be similar? We have one, that it's kind of near the dog park. Would it be something similar like that? Would they be standalone, or if there's a restroom vision for downtown?
Mr. Simpson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember, for the question. So what we envision after talking to members of the community is we would go out and do that process again. But what in our research, Portland uses something called the Portland Loo. It's a very successful public restroom with 24-hour access that is hooked up to both power and water, but has its own solar power that goes along with it. It also has some features that make sure that it's being used for its intended purpose and not for anything that is unintended. We would expect to purchase those as the NDP and then at some point gift them to the city. At that point, we would then take on the budgetary obligation to clean and service those restrooms so that the city wouldn't be incurring that cost.
Any other questions? Thank you, Councilmember Evans. Councilmember Cap, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. As you all know, I'm not on the committee, and so I'll beg your indulgence for this question. It was asked and answered, but I will unfortunately say I didn't understand the answer. So I appreciate everybody bearing with me. My question's for the administration. Why did we, Metro, not apply for this grant? And I know that was asked and answered. I just did not understand the answer.
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My understanding is that it can be done either way. Somebody's the lead, somebody partners with them, and that because of the tight turnaround, we weren't going to be able to get it done during the application window, and NDP was.
Well, when was that window, and when did we know about it, and how was the decision made that we weren't able to meet that window?
The solicitation came out in early October. It was due sometime that month, and that is all I can tell you at this point. I don't know the content of the conversations.
Okay, thank you. I might be interested in more details on that if we're able to find them. I'm hopeful that this will get deferred for some of those answers. My next question is, you mentioned before that the purpose of the MOU is to limit the potential uses of this money, but correct me if I'm wrong, but any receipt of money couldn't go to a purpose that isn't otherwise authorized by law, right? So if say the Downtown Partnership gets this money, they can't spend it in ways that aren't lawful, right?
Correct.
So in I guess my question is, in what sense is this MOU limiting?
There are, if you look at their grant contract, which I think has been around, it lists a lot of potential uses for the money. It has a lot of categories, says including not limited to these certain things, whereas the MOU has a very small, finite list.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But here, to take one example, the noise cameras that have been somewhat under discussion, those aren't authorized currently under Metro code. We haven't passed an ordinance to allow that kind of noise camera to be used in the right of way.
We have not authorized Metro to use them, but private parties could.
Right. So in this regard, we would be in fact expanding capabilities through this MOU that do not currently exist if we authorized the use of this particular noise technology in the right of way.
MNPD would not be able to use this technology absent council approval, and with or without the MOU, any private group could use the technology.
My understanding from the earlier discussion is...
I'm going to recognize Special Counsel Darby just for clarification there.
I just wanted to, I was just saying to Mr. Rosenberg that the private use of the cameras in the right-of-way is not permitted. So if they were to purchase the noise cameras or whatever they're called, they would not be permitted to use, NDP would not be permitted to use those in the public right-of-way.
So to set to one side the merits of such a thing or whether we should or should not approve it, we haven't approved it. And my reading of this MOU is that it would be authorizing a use we have not previously authorized. And so in that sense, I think the MOU expands capabilities that have not currently been authorized.
The MOU doesn't authorize the use in the right-of-way by saying that the grant funds can be used for it, and there is other technology like LPRs that have been approved by council that would be permitted absent the MOU.
So, yes, so I think I understand this in the sense in which you're saying it's limited because the state authorizing legislation includes a broader array of uses that are numerically reduced by this MOU. But within the items in the MOU, I'm concerned about how some of those might be expanding capabilities that we haven't previously authorized. But I think I'm following you in saying, in what you've just said. But if I understand correctly, this MOU would be authorizing the downtown partnership to buy technology that isn't authorized for use by Metro. If they can buy cameras that we haven't authorized for use in the right-of-way, for example, they could buy them. We're authorizing them to spend the money. We're not authorizing them to actually use them. Is that?
They're already authorized to spend the money to buy the technology, and this does not change that.
Yes, you're saying in the sense that the grant has been granted by the state government.
With that as an allowed use, yes.
But by the terms of this MOU, we're not limiting actually anything with this MOU.
We're limiting quite a bit of, we're not authorizing the use of any technology in the right-of-way by not excluding it from what they're already allowed to do with the money.
So it's the administration's expectation that there would be separate legislation to consider the use of that particular noise camera technology, which has already been granted to the downtown partnership by the state.
The intention of both NDP and Metro is that that would be a Metro purchase, not an NDP purchase, and therefore would go through all the normal processes in front of council.
Is the administration open to clarifying in the MOU what is intended to be a Metro purchase and what is intended to be a downtown partnership purchase?
I'm pretty sure we'd be able to enumerate that.
I think another good example is the armored vehicle. I think it refers in the items to carrying MNPD personnel, but it does not specify who would own and operate the vehicle. So I think if the administration is open to clarifying that, I think that might be fruitful. My next question is, you mentioned earlier in the question that there's no surveillance technology in this MOU. My question is, why are certain surveillance technologies mentioned in Exhibit A? Specifically Leo Site and 5Cast.
I was saying that we're not authorizing the use or purchase of any surveillance equipment because there were claims made that this was an end around surveillance uses.
Why are those particular entities or companies mentioned in the exhibit?
I will turn to Chief Gilder to explain the uses of those.
Deputy Chief, you're recognized.
So in the process of identifying how we would intend to utilize the grant funds, we had to identify, what equipment we would want to purchase. And those were the couple pieces of software equipment that we are interested in purchasing with these grant funds.
Can you describe what you intend those softwares to do if you have them?
Yeah, sure. So the Leo Site software is like a unified command platform. It connects us with the NFD and OEM. They run a command out of their operations center. We have our community safety center, which I believe you've been to, down at our police headquarters. And that basically allows for a virtual connection of those facilities. And then the 5Cast software is basically, it's an open source information, allows us to identify threats and investigate crimes. The crime analysts use it to respond to crimes and locate individuals and, like, for instances, threats to dignitaries, threats to schools, threats to downtown events. It can alert us to threats to, like, special events or people that may be coming to town. Like, when we had the neo-Nazi group that came to town, we were totally unaware that that was in the works, being planned. If that sort of thing is being discussed, it can help us identify that. Street racing, illegal street racing and takeover events. A lot of times those are discussed, but we don't, unless you're literally sitting there scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, you may not know and be aware of, but it's out there and visible to the world. And it basically helps narrow that and identify those and alert us to those type of public safety issues.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. And my question's back to the administration. So is this a scenario where the administration envisions that these monies are going to the downtown partnership to then be granted back to Metro, and that there will be then a separate Metro Council process for the approval of those uses that Deputy Chief Gilder just described?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The expectation is that, first of all, yes, the video-only cameras, noise camera technology, the community safety center video wall and software also for there, lighting, public restrooms, and servicing in the way that Mr. Simpson described, armored rescue vehicle, mobile command post, and tactical support post would all be Metro uses of the money subject to council processes and approval.
Thank you. And with the chair will indulge me, just one more question, and maybe I'll come back afterward. But I did hear earlier that mention of cameras, the money for cameras. If I understood an earlier answer, Deputy Chief Gilder said that those would be only to pay for existing cameras. Is that true? Is that what the administration understands?
Deputy Chief.
But he will speak to that again.
Deputy Chief, you're recognized.
What I was saying is that it's 15 cameras, and they're going in the existing locations where we already have public safety cameras. They're either replacing outdated cameras or providing a better coverage of an area that we already have those cameras. And you can see those downtown. They've got big flashing blue lights on top of them.
I understand. So thank you. So it's not existing cameras, it's replacement at existing locations.
Well, I think it's going to replace some. I'd have to talk to the IT folks, but my understanding is there are cameras that need to be replaced. And then some of them are just an additional camera that at the same location that provides a better angle or an additional angle that is not currently covered. The point I was trying to make is they're not going in new areas of the city. They are going in these same locations where we already have existing safety cameras downtown.
Thank you. And when you earlier said supplement the uses, you mean supplement the uses in the way that you described earlier with the technologies that you just described to the last question that I had.
I'm sorry, I don't understand your question.
Earlier in this hearing, you said that it would be in same locations, but that we'd be supplementing those cameras. I'm trying to get into what you mean by supplement. Is what you meant that they would be using those technologies, Leosite and 5 has?
Oh.
Is that what you meant by supplement, or is there something else that you have in mind for how you'd like to supplement those cameras?
What I meant by, you're talking about what do I mean by supplementing the cameras with respect to the 15 that are identified in here?
Yes.
I meant what I just explained, which is they will either replace outdated cameras or add a viewing angle that currently we do not have, and supplementing what is there in a current location. That's what I was referring to.
Thank you. And thank you, Chair, for giving me so much leeway.
Thank you, Councilmember Cap. Councilmember Parker, I'm going to come back to you in just a moment. I've had a couple of committee members that have indicated they want some questions. Councilmember Gadd, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Chair. And thank you to colleagues for their additional questions. It's been really helpful to learn a little more. Regarding the application, this may be for Council Darby, it may be for the administration. For the application for NDP to do this application, we had to say no, that we're not going to. Is that correct?
You're recognized.
I believe we either had to say we weren't going to or not do it. Yes.
So we could have not, so NDP would not have qualified if we said we were going to and just didn't, or we didn't indicate to them that we weren't going to.
recognized.
Had we not partnered with National Downtown Partnership,
Yeah.
we would not have been able to get this downtown safety money. So, yes.
Brandy B. Thank you. And Chair, could you make sure we get a copy of the application? I'd love a full copy of the application. I haven't been able to get that yet. It may be available. It may already be a part of our records, but if you could make sure we could get that, that would be great. The additional question I have regarding, since it's been indicated that we will receive follow-up approvals from the administration requesting how this money gets approved, and then we'll come back and the administration will then try to get technology approved. Do we have a timeline for that? Are we looking at trying to get the technology approved here for their usage at before the end of the year, since we're moving things kind of quickly? Are we looking earlier at the year, or?
You're recognized.
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer. I can find out what the intended timeline is, and I would object to the idea that we're moving quickly. This was filed, and we have not said that this needs to be immediately acted on.
Oh, wonderful. So we could actually, there's no big timetable on when we need to act on this. It could be moved out several months, and we could delay that consideration.
That would not delay the money being here and available to National Downtown Partnership, but yeah, absent the MOU, the money still comes. It's just the uses aren't limited.
Okay. I think for I've got final two questions, but I may defer to other colleagues. And then if we've got time remaining, I've got two additional questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Gadd. And I've got that added to my list, the application. So thank you. Councilmember Nash, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Councilman Capp's issue, it's not unusual that the city is faced with grants that have some really short turnaround times. I was the grant administrator in planning years ago, and Metro's requirements sometimes, because of the 2-week delays and then questions, it requires sometimes a special exemption from the timelines, late file, and other times we just said we can't do it, we don't have the time. And then secondly, I question, we already send people out with noise monitors to check noise levels downtown and around. Codes has them, police department has them. So I wonder if this technology is not all that different and needs special approval.
In regards to the noise mitigation technology, I'll throw that back to Special Counsel Darby.
Maybe that's a question.
Yeah, Deputy Chief, I don't know if you can address that question or not. Councilmember Nash, would you mind just repeating the question for Deputy Chief?
My point was that we already do noise mitigation, send people out with monitors where we get complaints about loud noise and certainly cars. So I'm wondering if this new technology, because it's attached to cameras, all that different, it would need special approval.
Well, to answer your question about or make the point, do we already have the technology where we measure sound? Yes, we do. The precincts all have them. My understanding is Codes Department has them and utilizes them. Utilizing this technology, first of all, we would have to go through a procurement process, and then the purchase agreement. The process, I understand it is now, is legal reviews that, determines if it triggers the technology ordinance, and if so, before it can be finally approved, it comes to council for a resolution vote if it's going to trigger that. So that's my understanding how it would get up here, if that is the case.
Thank you, Councilmember Nash. Councilmember Evans, I believe you had a question, and I'll circle back to you, Councilmember.
Hello. Thanks. So I just want to go back to the Leo site and 5cast. And the way that it's listed in the documents, does that mean, are those like the the providers of those services that are enabled by the state, and we would not be going through like any kind of metro procurement process to find similar or different costs and that kind of thing. I guess I wanted a little clarity around the provider side.
Would the administration care to answer that one? Oh, back to Deputy Chief.
So those are the software that we have identified that we believe would be of most use to the city through our community safety center. In order to acquire those, we would have to go through the standard procurement process. So depending upon, the value and having to get go out for bids and that sort of thing. So this legislation before us today doesn't authorize us to get this software. We're just simply have to try to, again, provide some transparency about how we intend to utilize the funding. That's why it's been listed in some of the documentation.
Yes.
Are there other cities in Tennessee that are using the same providers for those services?
I would have to check to see which cities are using it. I know our community safety center folks did some research on identifying what programs would be the most beneficial, and I'm quite certain other law enforcement entities are using it. I don't have a list of which ones in front of me today, but I can get that to you in the future.
Thank you, Councilmember Evans. So just really quick before I move on, spirited debate, just please keep in mind that we're 25 minutes over. Councilmember Porterfield, I'll go to you first, and then Councilmember Parker, I'll come back to you. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I love how that warning was right before I spoke. Hint, I got it. I'm glad that Deputy Chief Gilder agreed with the fact that this would have to come back before council to vote on anything. Like if this moves forward, that he agreed that it would have to come back before council. But I do just want to state that I don't think it's appropriate if the question, and my colleague did not direct the question to MNPD, but if we're asking about if the question is, do we already have this capability? Do we need to do additional legislation to do that? Like, it's not appropriate for us to go to a department to ask that department. Like, we should be asking that to legal, whether that is Metro Legal or Director Darby. But thankfully, I'm glad that Deputy Chief also agreed with that. So I will just let that lay there. I did have some questions about that video wall software, but Councilmember Cap did address several of the questions that I had. But one thing that I needed some clarification on, the 15 cameras that Chief Gilder mentioned would go back in the existing locations. Can we get some clarity on if these are going to be the same cameras purchased again, or if these are going to be like a different camera, a different model of camera, and will those cameras have new capabilities?
Deputy Chief, you're recognized.
So some of those cameras have been in place for decades. So I'm quite certain the models are not probably going to be exactly the same. I don't know. I don't have that level of information with me again, because today this wasn't, this was an overview of how we intend to spend the money, not the authorization to actually take the money and make the purchase. So I don't have that level of detail with me today. I'm happy to let you know what kind of camera we're looking at, but it's a standard surveillance camera. It's not capable of, or it's not used for any other purpose than what a standard surveillance camera is, if that's kind of the question you're getting at. It's not an LPR camera. It's a standard surveillance camera.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. We will have different ideas of comfort level of what that camera should be able to do. So thank you for clarifying that. On the 5CAS website, it has 5CAS, Onyx, Lunix, and Matrix. Do we know which 5CAS product y'all are looking at acquiring?
Ma'am, I don't have that level of detail. I'd have to ask our folks in the Community Safety Center which product they were in particular considering.
All good. And then my last question is for Director Darby or the administration. It was mentioned that these technologies would not be able to be used in the right-of-way. So where would the technologies actually be used if this is approved? And if we don't accept the donation, what happens? Does MPD keep all of that money, or what happens if we just say, no, we don't want any of the products?
Special counsel, you're recognized.
With regard to the right-of-way question, if we don't approve the acceptance of the cameras or the acceptance of the donation to purchase those cameras, then if NDP were to purchase those cameras individually, they would not be able to place cameras on Metro's right-of-way for usage. They would, I don't know what they would do with the cameras. That's something that they would have to answer. I don't know that they intend to purchase them for their own use. I think that the goal here is to have, as Mr. Rosenberg has said, to apply for the grant funds as quickly as possible and get the funds in, and then kind of figure out how to share those grant funds.
Can Downtown Partnership answer that question?
Anyone from Downtown Partnership like to answer that one?
And I'll restate that. Basically, if we say, no, thank you, and y'all can't use it in the right of way, then are y'all still gonna buy the technology? And if so, where would you use it?
Mr. Simpson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councilwoman. So I don't know what the purpose for a camera would be except to limit illegal activity. That would be what the grant would contemplate. The grant itself contemplates downtown safety, and that would be within the binds of the grant. So having any kind of video footage that we could never turn over to MNPD, I don't know that that would be helpful for anyone that gets assaulted, for anyone that gets something happening to them in the public right-of-way. Were we able to get that footage and not be able to share it with the enforcement arm of the Metro government, I don't know what value that would have.
So as a yes or no question, if we don't accept it, then y'all won't buy it?
I don't have the authority as an officer of the Nashville Downtown Partnership to say that. What we've done is brought an MOU to council that would limit the way the grant funds are spent, and then would govern how we would give the money to the Metro government. Were the MOU not to go through, which is I think what you're asking me, I don't know. I would have to work with our partners at the state to understand what that means with their money.
Thank you. I just want to clarify, because I'm not asking about if we don't pass the MOU. I'm saying, let's say that we pass the MOU and you all, we have to vote to accept any of this equipment, the cameras, the surveillance technology, we would have to vote to accept that. So if Metro Council does not vote to accept this technology, which then means you cannot use it in the well, I think you said they can't use it in the right of way anyway, right? Director Darby, can you clarify that?
Special counsel, you're recognized.
They cannot, a private entity cannot place the cameras in the Metro right-of-way.
So right now, if these cameras are purchased, where will they be? Where will they go?
I do not know the answer to that question because Metro is not purchasing cameras. This agreement doesn't contemplate Metro purchasing these cameras. I can't answer that question about where they would go. If Metro were to purchase cameras, they can go in the right of way. If Metro, it sounds to me that MNPD is expecting to, at some point, receive these cameras, and if they do that, they will be putting them on those posts with the little blue lights so that they can view all of the video from the CSC and the video wall, which also is contemplated by this.
Where are those blue light cameras in the right of way?
Yes, those are owned by Metro. Those are in the right of way. They have been there since, I couldn't tell you when, but it's
a long time.
It's been a long time.
Okay. I guess I'm just trying to get clarity on, because it was stated that we would have to accept the donation. So I'm just trying to get clarity on, like, if we don't accept the donation, does MPD keep all the money, number one? And number two, what happens to it if we just say no?
You're recognized.
And you're talking about if we accept the donation. So your scenario contemplates that we have approved the MOU.
If we approve the MOU.
Okay.
And then it's time for us to accept donations for cameras, noise technology, all these other things, and we say, no, thank you.
Yeah,
then what happens?
I mean, and again, I haven't been privy to any conversations that may have been happening, but if we were to approve the MOU, then the items that could be purchased by Downtown Partnership would be limited to the exhibit. If they did not purchase those items and instead just wanted to donate the funding to Metro for the purchase of the items, which I think is probably, practically speaking, what would happen, again, not knowing for certain, then that's something that would have to be approved. If council does not approve the acceptance of those funds, then those funds stay with the downtown partnership.
And what does the downtown partnership do with those funds? I'm sorry if I'm not answering my questions clearly, but I'm trying to understand.
And again, this is pure speculation, and it would be up to the downtown partnership, and it sounds like they don't quite have an answer for that either, but I would suspect that they might spend it on some of the other items on the list.
Mr. Simpson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. So we're under contract with the state. We would hope at some point a memorandum of understanding between the Metro government and the NDP could be reached so that we could bind those funds in the contract with the state, limiting what those state funds could do. Without that, I would have to go back to our partners at the state and understand what we would be allowed to do then.
Okay, thank you. And then last question. So in theory, so this can be used for public restrooms and lighting. So in theory, if we are not approving any of these other technologies, could the full $15 million be used to provide public restrooms downtown and outreach for unhoused individuals and improved lighting? Can we use all the money for that?
That is a question that I'll kick over to Special Counsel Darby.
Again, this is kind of speculation, but so we've gone through the process. We've approved the MOU, and Downtown Partnership has come to us to say, like, hey, we've got this funding for you for this equipment, for surveillance technology.
No, let me stop you. I'm sorry. If we change the MOU to say that we're only going to use this for public restrooms, lighting, and outreach for unhoused individuals.
To change the MOU, it's a two-party agreement, so we can't unilaterally change it. We'd have to get input from Downtown Partnership to see if they wanted to change it too. But yes, if the MOU was amended to limit even further the list of items that could be purchased with these funds by the Downtown Partnership, then yes.
Yes, we could then use it just for those.
Just for those things.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair, for giving me the opportunity to ask all those questions. I will say it is very hard for us to do our job when we are dealing with folks that don't have the answers to the questions. And I know that when we are asking questions on the spot, you may not always have, not you, Director Darby, but the entities may not always have the answers to the questions, but it is very helpful for people to kind of think through possibilities, because it's not a guarantee that the MOU passes. It's not a guarantee that we accept any of those things, and we can't do our job about how we're going to vote on legislation if we don't have the full picture of what's going to happen. So thank you, Chair, for indulging me.
Thank you, Councilmember Porterfield. And just really quick, if anyone does, just for the sake of continuing to move this on, if you have any budgetary related questions, just remember that this item will come up in Budget and Finance here in just a little bit. Councilmember Suarez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. And thanks to everyone that has spoken. I think, my computer going off and me trying to articulate all of this, I'm glad a lot of people came back behind, especially Councilmember Cap. What I wanted to say is that the reason why I was asking who is applying, is it joint, where does the money go, is because of the question that Councilmember Porterfield was asking. And I think it would be very important, just like Councilmember Guide asked, if we can get the grants application. When you apply for a grant, there's a budget that is attached that says this is what we're going to do, and you're telling the grantor that this is what the money will be used for. Without that information, all of this is just speculation. And if it needs to be changed, then we need to go back to the state to be able to ask all those questions. So I think the first thing is, if you can get us that grant application, then we can actually see whether it says Downtown Partnership would do X and Metro would do X, and this is the money to Metro, and we can have that, and that will help in the conversation. My follow-up question to all of this is the one on the surveillance, and I think it's been answered, but I just want to be sure. If we don't do it, can Downtown Partnership do that? This CSC equipment and all of that stuff, will they be able to do that on their own?
Special Counsel, you're recognized.
No, we're beating
and again,
it down.
this might be a question for Deputy Chief Gilder, but the CSC equipment is intended for the
MNPD.
Police Department. They have if you haven't been out there, you should. I'm inviting them to your facility, but I'm sure he would. If you haven't been out there, it's interesting to see. But they have big video walls where you can sit there and see all of the cameras that are being operated by the Police Department. I don't know what Downtown Partnership would do with that equipment because it's intended for MNPD.
And even if they buy it on their own, in order for them to give it to MNPD, they will have to come through, either we buy it or they have to give it to us as a donation. And both of those instances will still have to come through council.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Parker, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be super brief. Thanks for recognizing me. So, my read, and I tried to ask this question earlier, but I somehow lost my train of thought. The state grant requires two things to happen, and that's that we agree to not apply for the funds, and it's that we coordinate with the applying entity. Like, my read was that this MOU is the thing that satisfies those two grant requirements. So how is it that they would still, like, absent those two requirements being fulfilled, how is it that they would still get the funding absent the MOU being approved?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Council member, the way it was explained to me when I asked that question was that the collaboration or coordination or whatever doesn't need to be a formalized agreement. It's the action of working together. So with or without that, and at this point, the application window is gone, has passed, and Metro did not apply for the grant.
Okay, so there's no actual, there's no actual approval needed from us for them to receive the full funds. That's what you're saying?
I would turn to a lawyer. My read is that yet they're going to get the funds at the end of the month. The state's not going to withhold it because there's not a formalized agreement.
Okay.
So yes, that's the way I understand.
Okay, thanks. And if there is an attempt, Chair, to modify this, I think it might be wise to add some of the other uses as allowable uses. I know that the state grant opportunity included like traffic calming and like physical infrastructure safety stuff, which was not included in this MOU document. Last year around budget time, we struggled to fund our entertainment district unit, and this grant opportunity does put some parameters around using it for personnel expenses, but my read is that our entertainment district unit would be like a perfect fit for this grant opportunity. So if we're going to take a look at what is and isn't contemplated here, I think that might be something to consider.
Thank you for that recommendation, Councilmember Parker. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair, especially since I'm not on the committee. I've got just a couple questions. For Director Darby, I think. Do we know what the estimate is to repair the library and the garage downtown?
I do not have that information. Maybe the administration does.
I'd like to know what that number is if we could before tomorrow. I'm curious if we could redo the MOU so that this money could be used to do that, since NDP did have involvement with that garage and what? No? Okay. All right. Okay. Then my next question, dismiss that. Then my next question is, I think for the administration chair, I'm curious what department requested this legislation. It was finance, law, MNPD, or the mayor's office. I don't understand who created this. What department?
Mr. Rosenberg, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Councilmember, it could have been the mayor's office. I'll need to find out exactly where it originated, but I know a lot of the conversation happened with the mayor's office.
All right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Weiner, you're recognized.
I would like to move a one meeting deferral and a re-referral to this committee. Deja vu, right, guys?
A motion for a one meeting deferral and a re-referral to this committee has been made and seconded. Any discussion on this? Okay, we're going to do this by hand, y'all. So all in favor of a one meeting deferral with a re-referral, say aye. Okay, any opposed? Any not voting? Item is deferred, one meeting, 9 in favor. 0 against, 0 not voting. All right, just a couple more items, y'all. Item number 8 is next on our list, RS 2025-1673. a resolution accepting a statewide school resource officer SRO program grant from the Tennessee Department of Safety and Homeland Security to the Metropolitan Government, acting by and through the Metropolitan Nashville Police Department, MNPD, for the placement of school resource officers in schools for the continued efforts to establish and maintain safe and secure learning environments for eligible K through 12 public schools and public charter schools. Sponsors Toombs, Huffman, Johnston, and Gamble. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor, aye. Opposed, no. 2. Any not voting? 1 not voting. 6 in favor, 2 against, 1 not voting. All right, and last item on today's agenda, item number 11, BL 2025-1138, sponsors Toombs, Huffman, Stiles, and Benton. An ordinance approving Amendment 3 to Contract 455783 for provision of body camera equipment between Motorola Solutions, Inc. and the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion on this item? Yes, ma'am. You're recognized.
Can we get an explanation what this is?
Yep. Over to Deputy Chief Gilder.
So this is an amendment to the existing contract that we've had with Motorola, which was originally WatchGuard, but they're part of Motorola Solutions. And basically what it does is it extends the contract term. The current contract term expires January 5th, 2026. This would extend it out to the full 10 years of the contract life to August 28th, 2029. And it basically ensures that we're able to continue continuity of operations. We have a large amount, about 3 petabytes worth of data stored on the system. You got a plan to move all that stuff. All the proprietary equipment is installed in over 1,000 of our cars. About 1,100 cars. So it's quite a lift to change from one system to another, and this would basically give us some time to engage in a procurement process in the future. But right now we're coming up against, like I said, the end of the existing contract term, and so this would extend it out to the 10 years.
Any other questions? Councilmember Suarez, you're recognized.
Thank you. Deputy Chief, hi.
Hi.
I know that the first time we were looking at it, the community oversight then was a big part of that conversation, and they did a whole lot of things that they sent to us. And I know that being able to view and look some of the conversation over the past, can you tell me what that relationship look like now with the new board that we have? Do they have access, and is that all going well with it? And I don't have anything against the camera that was for it, but I think it was the access and the community oversight of it. Do you have anything on that?
So prior to the change in the role from a oversight board to review board, the way the operations worked was anytime we had a critical incident, we would invite the team down to come and view the critical incident video. As you may or may not know, when there is a criminal case that is pending, there's a rule that a court rule that prohibits disclosure of evidence from a case during that time. That's why, when a crime has been committed, you can't come down and say, hey, I want to file an open records request for the entire case file and view it myself. That is all confidential until the case is adjudicated and is completely done. So that applies to camera footage as well. So that footage isn't publicly available. We do, in critical incidents, though, release the footage publicly, and we try to do that very quickly. It's often within hours of the incident occurring so that everyone can see the footage.
Any follow-up questions from you, Councilmember? Any other discussion on this item? All right, moving to a vote. All those in favor, aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? Item passes. 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 not voting. That's the last item on our agenda. We are, do I have a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned. Especially after meetings like that.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.